Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our presentation. Today, we will provide you with information relating to the Community Waste Reduction Grant Program application process and collaborating with SWACO. Please be aware that we are recording this presentation and will make it available online by the end of the week. Also, there is an application package handout available for download at swaco.org. This presentation is scheduled for approximately a half hour. Before we start, we'd like to share a little bit about our presenters today. My name is Christy Higginbotham. I'm a programs administrator at SWACO. I have been with SWACO for over 17 years and focus on administering our education and grant programs. Today, I will be discussing the important points and logistics of the Community Waste Reduction Grant Program. I have the pleasure of working with our other presenter, Hannah Greer-Brown, SWACO's Communications Manager.
Good morning, everyone. As a communications manager here at SWACO, I have the really fun job of helping to tell the SWACO story. Part of that is sharing how recycling and waste diversion activities keep costs low and protect our environment, which benefit all of us. I also get to work with SWACO's grant recipients to celebrate and raise awareness about all of your sustainability efforts. I'm looking forward to learning more about each of your projects and hope to have the chance to work with you through this program.
Thanks, Hannah. I'll be discussing the grant details and process during the webinar. Hannah will close with how we can work together to create news and awareness should your application be selected for funding. If you have any questions at any time, please type them into the chat box of the attendee control panel. We will answer your questions in the order that they are received at the end of the presentation. However, if we run out of time, please don't worry. We'll be sure to follow up with an email and answer all questions. Also, please keep in mind that you can contact me to discuss any additional questions you may have as you draft your application. Before we jump into grant details, we'd like to first discuss who we are, some of the programs that we offer, and why we offer grants. SWACO is a public agency and one of 52 solid waste management districts in the state of Ohio. In addition to serving as a solid waste district, SWACO also operates the Franklin County Sanitary Landfill, a public landfill that accepts municipal solid waste. We have worked hard to position our region as a leader in environmental sustainability by offering a range of waste reduction, recycling, and safe disposal services, including providing assistance to communities and school districts and contracting for the provision of recycling services while providing a recycling drop-off program, working with retailers and offering the Bring Me Back campaign to encourage residents to recycle single-use plastic bags, film, and wrap while promoting the use of reusable alternatives whenever possible. Sponsoring free yard waste composting for Franklin County residents. Collaborating with the Franklin County Health Department, Franklin County Sheriff's Office, City of Columbus, and the Franklin County Prosecuting Attorney to reduce illegal dumping and littering. Helping communities recycle electronics. Providing free household hazardous waste disposal to Franklin County residents, and offering landfill tours to students in the general public. Since 2009, over 31,000 school students have visited our landfill and learned about the importance of waste reduction and materials diversion. Many find it hard to believe that most of the material that is received can be recycled, donated, or reused. That said, we rely on residents and businesses to sort prior to placing items at the curb or inappropriate dumpsters. Our vision is a community that is environmentally safe and resourceful. To that, we strive to educate all residents and businesses in Franklin County about the importance of safe disposal of materials, conserving natural resources, and the importance of saving landfill space. This graphic depicts the composition of municipal solid waste and amounts received at our landfill. On average, 4,200 tons of waste is delivered to our landfill daily. In 2016, the total waste generated in SWACO's jurisdiction was 1.7 million tons. Of that, almost 1,015,000 tons were landfilled, close to 479,000 tons were recycled, and almost 209,000 tons were composted. Our recycling rate continues to climb. In Franklin County, we now have a 40% diversion rate among our residential and commercial sectors, which is higher than the national average of 34%. The materials pictured in this slide are accepted by most traditional single-stream or mixed recycling programs in Franklin County. That said, these are not the only materials that can be diverted from the landfill. You may generate different materials that can be diverted through source reduction, reuse, or through a specialty collection program or service. This could include items such as food waste, textiles, furniture, and electronics, which are not accepted in traditional recycling programs. Our hope is that by offering our grants programs and collaborating with partners that share our passion for waste reduction and diversion, we will continue to increase the diversion rate. We are excited that you've decided to join us today to learn more about how this grant may be able to assist you in diverting even more from the landfill. The SWACO Grants Program consists of two different grant offerings, the Community Waste Reduction Grant and the Event Waste Reduction Grant. Both have different grant cycles and were created to promote waste reduction, recycling, and reuse projects within SWACO's jurisdiction. These programs fall under the purview of the Innovation and Programs Department, which is focused on building collaborative partnerships that impact and improve the waste stream, leverage the waste stream for economic benefit, and contribute to a safe and healthy community. The goal for today's presentation is to provide more insight with respect to the Community Waste Reduction Grant Program. The purpose of this program is to encourage innovative ideas that significantly reduce waste and increase diversion of recoverable materials. Through this process, we hope to identify unique opportunities for materials diversion with partners and fund sustainable projects and programs. For those interested in applying, it's important to design programs that are transferable and scalable, which can serve as models to others. Our agenda includes information from each section of the grant application, beginning with our grant funding section. Funding for a community waste reduction grant is limited. SWACO will reimburse the award recipient for grant-approved expenditures, provided the award recipient has submitted all required documentation as described in the final report requirements. The range of funding is a minimum of $500,000 and a maximum of $35,000. A 25% monetary match is required. The matching funds should be described in Form C, the project budget and summary, which we will discuss later in the presentation. This is a competitive grant program. Your application will be weighted against other applications and evaluated by an internal SWACO review committee. The committee is made up of representatives from SWACO's legal, finance, and innovation and programs departments. In order for an application to be evaluated by SWACO's review committee, there are fundamental criteria that must be met. The program activities must occur in the 2018 calendar year. Eligible applicants include, but are not limited to, communities, schools, parks, and nonprofits. The applicant and project must be located in SWACO's jurisdiction, which is comprised of Franklin County and includes the cities of Canal-Winchester, Dublin, New Albany, Reynoldsburg, and Westerville. The map shows Pickerington and parts of Lithopolis, but these communities are outside of our jurisdiction since the majority is outside of Franklin County. The deadline to submit an application, including required supporting documentation, is September 22nd, 2017 by 5 p.m. We will not contact applicants to request missing information. Please know that prior to this deadline, I am available to discuss any questions, concerns, or ideas that you may have regarding your application. The application requirements section refers to application documentation. This includes the following documents. Form A, the applicant cover page, which includes the applicant and project information. Form B, the project summary and narrative. And Form C, the project budget. Applications missing any of these forms will not be considered. Supporting documentation pertaining to the request can include quotes for equipment, supplies, and professional services. Professional services should at a minimum have a scope of work, including rates. Contracts may also be provided if available. Please be sure that all quotes, rates, and fees associated with your ask total the amount of funding being requested. We cannot award funding for any items that do not provide the supporting documentation. Additionally, applicants should have no outstanding financial or compliance issues. The application must also be completed and submitted by the entity responsible for implementing the project. Consultants, contractors, vendors, or unaffiliated individuals may not submit on behalf of the entity responsible for implementing the project. And funding requests for expanding or improving an existing project or program must provide a detailed explanation of current activities and how funding will improve the program or project. Project categories have been identified for potential funding opportunities under this grant program. When thinking about the program you are designing for this application, you want to ask yourself, does this concept or idea reduce waste generated or divert or recycle materials from the waste stream? These categories can be used as a guide in thinking about the innovative possibilities of your diversion program. These categories include waste reduction and reuse initiatives that focus on reducing or eliminating waste or the reuse of items and materials. Recycling initiatives that significantly increase the diversion of recyclable materials from the landfill and or address difficult or hard to recycle materials. Organic waste and food waste diversion projects that focus specifically on reducing or diverting organic material from the landfill. And activities that enhance public awareness through targeted education and outreach efforts. Please note, activities that include the collection of diversion of materials should describe the items and the materials that are being collected and where the material is being taken for sorting or processing. Additionally, end users accepting the materials for reuse, reprocessing, or recycling should also be identified and described. Examples of projects funded in 2017 that address some of the unique needs of our partners include a grant awarded to the City of Bexley to work with a consultant in developing a zero waste plan. Through this process, they have engaged more businesses and institutions with the city's green team. The plan will help them to study the waste stream of those sectors in order to better understand future needs associated with diversion. This plan could then also be used as a template for other communities in SWACO's jurisdiction. Goodwill Columbus was awarded a grant to assist in purchasing equipment for the development of a new outlet store. The outlet will provide an opportunity for items that did not sell at retail locations to be sold again. Many times these are products that do not have established reuse and recycling markets. By offering a second chance to buy, they can further reduce what is sent to the landfill. And the Mid-Ohio Food Bank received funding to purchase equipment that will assist in preserving fresh foods received from food retailers through their direct retail pickup program. This program works to increase access to fresh, healthy foods. By extending the life of fresh foods and getting it into the hands of people that need it, they are also reducing the amount of wasted food sent to the landfill. This section of the application information provides guidance and examples of acceptable uses of grant funding. Funding requests can be made for new supplies, equipment, and/or professional services. Programs must be sustainable and work toward increased diversion with measurable impacts. Please keep in mind when describing a project's sustainability, the long-term social, economic, and environmental benefits should be addressed. Programs that only occur once or that do not describe sustainability benefits may not be graded as highly when evaluated against other applications that create an ongoing impact. Eligible items can include, but are not limited to, the following: durable, reusable equipment to be used for waste reduction, reuse, recycling, and composting. This can include reusable containers, signage, and processing equipment. Equipment descriptions and their intended uses and pricing must be provided with the application. Please note that if you're awarded funding for equipment, it must be maintained by the recipient for at least 3 years. Supplies for education, outreach, and awareness activities. Eligible education initiatives should also focus on reuse, recycling, diversion, or composting. A description of the materials and their intended use with pricing must be provided with the application. And professional services, which can include contractual expenses related to the provision of waste reduction, diversion, consulting, or planning services. This can also include transport and hauling of recyclable or compostable materials, and fees related to the acceptance of recyclable or compostable materials at a licensed facility. A scope of service describing the services to be rendered, including quotes and rates, must be provided with the application. Please note, if grant funding for professional services to assist with consulting or planning for waste diversion and sustainability programs is approved, a copy of the resulting plan or report will be required to be submitted with the final report at the conclusion of the grant period. Please remember that if your grant application is approved, any expenditures made prior to both parties signing the grant agreement will not be reimbursed. As soon as both parties have signed the agreement, approved purchases can be made. This program does not provide funding for the same program activities as previously awarded under a SWACO grant. Funding for in-house personnel costs, overhead or indirect costs, general office supplies and equipment, food and catering, solid waste equipment and services, hazardous waste, recycling, or disposal are not eligible for funding. Services that support existing diversion activities are not eligible. However, funding to replace existing programs and costs will be considered if the proposed activities significantly expand or improve existing programs or activities. Additionally, non-durable single-use items and other costs not related to waste reduction and diversion will not be considered. Next, we will discuss each form that is required to be completed and submitted with your application in more depth. This includes Form A, the applicant information, Form B, the summary and narrative, and Form C, the budget request. A checklist is provided for your use and does not need to be submitted with your application. Form A, the application cover page, asks for the applicant's contact information and includes a snapshot of relevant project information. The certification section should be signed by the person responsible for submitting the application and certifying that the information provided is true and accurate. The project summary and narrative includes an executive summary, which should be no more than 2 pages, and a project narrative, which should be 5 pages or less. This is your opportunity to explain why your project should be selected for funding. A large part of your application will be evaluated based on the information provided in this section. Please be sure to answer all questions in the order that they appear on this form. Please clearly describe the goals and objectives of your project and be sure to address how you plan to measure the impact. The transferability of successful waste reduction and diversion strategies and how those activities will be sustained should also be described. Collaborative partnerships, job creation, and the number of people affected should also be addressed. Ensuring the project activities are well defined and describing their sequence for implementation is very important. Demonstrating sound fiscal management and providing a realistic budget with a justified need for financial support is critical. Also describing how the program will be sustained and if it will continue beyond the funding year is important information to disclose. The evaluation committee will review the information provided closely when evaluating each application. I'd like to point out that in Form C, the project budget, that the 25% monetary match is in addition to the total amount of grant funding being requested, as illustrated in the example. The match must be directly tied to the program or project the funding is being requested for. Applicants are required to itemize all grant items and associated costs. Please identify if the cost is part of the grant request or the match contribution, and then provide a total in the table. The budget summary should be no more than 2 pages and should describe each item as requested for grant funding and how it will be used in the project. Applicants may request to receive 50% funding up front, providing sufficient justification has been described. It can be described in the budget summary with a written needs statement. SWACO will reimburse the award recipient for grant-approved expenditures, provided that the award recipient has submitted all required documentation as required in the final report. Again, please note that any purchases made prior to the execution of the grant agreement are ineligible for reimbursement, even if it is an approved cost. The application checklist is provided for your use to ensure all forms and documentation are complete. This checklist does not need to be submitted with the application. It's just for your own use. Outlined in this slide is a list of important dates relating to the timeline of this program. Again, the deadline to submit is by 5 p.m. on September 22nd. The evaluation committee will convene to review and score grant applications in October. All applicants will be notified of their status by early November, And at that time of notification, the award recipients will be invited to attend an informational meeting to learn more about SWACO's grant agreement terms and required contractual information, as well as the final report documentation. I've mentioned the final report documentation a few times today, which you do not have copies of, but again, if you are chosen to receive funding, you will learn more about the final report at that time. All required grant agreement documentation must be returned in December in order for programs and projects to commence on January 1st, 2018. If you are awarded a grant, in addition to executing a grant agreement with SWACO, there are additional forms that will be required to be submitted. These include a current W-9, an affidavit of authority, which basically guarantees us that the person signing the contract on behalf of your organization has the right to do so, and proof of insurance. We just have a few more slides to go, everyone. I will turn it over to Hannah now to discuss ways in which we can both create news and awareness about awarded programs and projects.
Thanks, Christy. So our grants program is one way we seek to build strategic partnerships to increase recycling in the communities we serve. As part of your grant agreement, we may ask that our new logo is used, as well as invite you to join us in announcing the grant award through a news release and media interviews. Throughout the grant period, we'll also look for ways to raise awareness about your efforts by creating newsletter articles, strategic social media posts, and through possible invitations to attend our board meetings. In return, we ask that SWACO support is recognized. This can be done by using our logo on printed materials and mentioning us as a funding partner in writing. We also look forward to hearing creative ways in which you'd like to help get the word out. We're here as a resource for you and would welcome the opportunity to potentially partner on other marketing and educational efforts.
Thank you so much, Hannah, and thank you all again for joining us today. As I mentioned earlier, this presentation will be available on our website at swaco.org by the end of this week. We look forward to answering any questions that you may have, and at this time we will end our webinar. Thank you so much.